the single biggest form of income for organized crime these days is betting on sports.
Yeah, it's kind of frightening that that's the true fact. But what it is, a lot of people talk about Las Vegas and how much sports gambling goes on there. Las Vegas itself will say that it accounts for about 1% of all the sports gambling done in the United States. And that's right now is about $4 billion Las Vegas took in on sports bets last year. Now, I mean, obviously, you extrapolate that could be up as much as $300 to $400 billion being wagered illegally on sports right now in the United States alone. I mean, that's a ton of money. I mean, it may be an overshot. It may be more like $100 million or $150 billion that's wagered illegally on sports. But the fact of the matter is, all of that really is controlled by organized crime. And even when people bet with their local bookie and only bet $50, they may not realize that, in fact, they are funding organized crime when they make those bets.
Of course. And so that's one of the factors that's going to be a background of what we're discussing. When we start talking about this idea of fixing a professional sporting event, most people are going to say, Parker, that's nuts. How are you going to do it? How are you going to get everybody on board? How is everybody going to keep their mouths shut? Wouldn't there be whistleblowers? Yada, yada, yada. We've heard it all before. Let's talk about it. First of all, you have proof that professional sporting events have been fixed. And just name a couple of them that in fact, were fixed.
Well, I think before you even get into that, if you take one step back and you look outside the United States, if you look at professional soccer, you look at tennis, cricket, rugby, around the world, we know without a doubt that matches have been fixed in all of those sports. I mean, we know it. We know in soccer, which is the most popular sport in the world, we know their biggest event, the World Cup, has had matches fixed in it. So if you can admit and understand that, the biggest sporting event in the world, the most watched sporting event in the world, has had matches fixed in it, then everything else that follows should make sense. I mean, if you can fix a match in the World Cup, fixing an NBA game and Major League Baseball game is nothing. Understood. And the fact of the matter is, I mean, there are matches being fixed all over the world in many sports, and it's being done at all levels of these sports. So what really bothers me is the fact is that we act in the United States like this is not possible. It can't happen here, and it's never happened here. And in fact, Major League Baseball says they haven't had a game fixed since 1919. The NBA says it hasn't had one fixed since 1954, and the NFL has the audacity to say we've never had one fixed ever in our history. Now, a lot of people will scoff at that, but the fact is, no one's been convicted of fixing any of these games, so the leagues can say that. But that's not necessarily the truth, and that's why I did this whole book, Larceny Games, based off of FBI files and their investigations into these major leagues and other sports on what may or may not have been fixed. And a lot of these files revealed the fact that the FBI was aware of very good information coming from bookies, coming from other organized crime sources, that these guys were working with professional athletes, were working with referees, and were altering the outcomes of games, for fixing purposes and making money off of that. The problem was the FBI couldn't prove that in a court of law and get arrests and get convictions. And so in many ways, they quit investigating it and allow now the leagues to investigate themselves, which is probably the most frightening aspect of it all.